Well, thank you, Senator Conrad, for that very kind introduction. We're very pleased today to have three folks who are doing really innovative things out in the private sector, entrepreneurial work on exactly the issues that Senator Conrad was mentioning. We have Amy Olette from Betterment, which is based in New York City. She is their Senior Retirement Plans Manager. David Ramirez from ForUsAll, based in San Francisco, a startup there. He's co-founder and chief investment officer. And Jim Smith of Morningstar, which is now the owner of Hello Wallet, based right here in the district. Jim is vice president and head of workplace strategy for Morningstar and Hello Wallet. So I'd like to start by saying that we've invited these individuals to share with you kind of what they're doing using technology and innovative behavioral approaches to address these issues of access, participation in plans, contributing adequately. What do people do on the retirement side when they are drawing down their plans?
Well, first, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share what we're doing to help solve the retirement coverage and savings gap. You know, I think we're probably all here for the same reason. 55 million Americans don't have access to a retirement plan at work. And this gap is particularly large among small businesses, where 1 out of 6 don't offer a retirement plan. And when we offer it, employees don't save nearly enough. Well, we think the core problem is that 401ks are just too hard for employees and employers to use. But if we apply the same principles that helped shape some of the leading consumer products of our time, like Facebook or Twitter, employees and employers will do the right thing. First, we need to focus on ease of use. Second, we need to show empathy through intelligent, simple design. You know, when we look at the 401k, it really evolved with the needs of the large companies in mind. These are companies that have large staffs of professionals and consultants who can analyze 401k vendors and make sure that the plans stay compliant. Small businesses, however, have to follow the same rules, but with fewer or no resources. And the industry just asks them to figure it out. And they're cobbling together systems based on manually syncing payroll with record keepers, manually tracking employee eligibility, hopefully sending out notices. And it's no surprise that when we see plans audited, roughly 3 out of 4 are failing their audit. Well, we need to do better. What if setting up a 401k for your small business was as easy as booking a trip on Priceline? And what if every 401k came with a 316 fiduciary who could do the hard work to make sure that that plan stayed compliant? And what if that 401k just magically synced with payroll? Well, we're doing that, and our customers amaze me. We see companies with as few as 5 employees and as many as 500 offering a 401k for the first time, but most excitingly, they're doing plan design right. All of our clients, every single one, are opting in their employees at a 6% average deferral rate, and they're adding 1% auto escalation. It's a great start, but it's not nearly enough. We also need to make it radically simple for employees. You know, we don't think employees undersave because they're irrational or overcome with inertia. We think it's just too hard. In fact, we asked our employees at one of our clients, we found that 60% hadn't joined the 401k because they didn't have enough time or it was too much of a hassle. So what if every 401k came with a virtual advisor that talked to employees in their language on whatever device they had and made joining the 401k or saving more as simple as posting a picture on Instagram? What if that same virtual advisor asked employees that wanted to opt out, well, of the bazillion good reasons not to save right now, what's your barrier? Is it saving for emergencies? Is it credit card debt, student loans? How can I help? And what if, coming soon, that same virtual advisor could help an employee set up an emergency savings account with the same ease that they could send a text? Well, we're doing that. And now the employees at our customers, well, they amaze me. We see across our book 90% participation and an average starting savings rate of 10%. So we got to make it a lot easier, particularly for the small employer. And I don't mean fewer rules. We need better 401k solutions that help the small business owner stay compliant and exercise their fiduciary oversight. If we don't, 401ks are going to continue to be too much work and too much liability. For employees, Well, we need to offer a lot more help, move way beyond simply asset allocation. We need to show empathy through technology that engages them and helps them with the big levers in life: paying down credit card debt, student loans, dealing with Social Security. You know, it's a tall order, but when I look at the innovators on this panel and the excitement in this room, I think we could do it. I think we have to do it.
I think it's really amazing how you're doing innovative work that is all within the current regulatory and legal environment. One of the things we do here at BPC and our Retirement Commission is looking at is how could public policy change to facilitate some of these goals. And so one of the things I'm wondering is if you could make a change to public policy that would facilitate even more innovation, even more aggressive efforts to address these problems of access, participation, emergency savings, and so forth, what would that be?
I think two things really come to mind. The first is making it easier for providers to set up an open multiple employer plan, but in a way that ensures that not only can we make it easier and more scalable to deliver a high quality 401k to employers, but in a way that doesn't suggest that an employer is abdicating their fiduciary responsibility, but rather by leveraging the power of the group, it enables employers to exercise greater fiduciary oversight. For example, we talk to a lot of small business owners. Often when we're talking to them about setting up a plan, one of the common questions they ask is, well, is there anything else I should be asking? They don't even know the questions to ask. But then sometimes we have some employers that I think they know more about the 401k than I do. I've got one guy who emails me almost every other week a question. Last time it was, do wash sale rules apply to a 401k? Well, imagine if we had an open multiple employer plan where all of the companies that joined that plan could come together in kind of like a shareholder environment and could actually learn from each other, so the plan sponsor that doesn't know what questions to ask could benefit from the great expertise of those other employers that are really on top of the game. I think that would fundamentally shift the information asymmetry, which I think has led to a lot of unscrupulous advisors and providers that prey on the ignorance of a lot of small business employers.
Your solutions rely very heavily on technology, and that has many advantages. But there's some people who need a human touch, and the last few weeks I think is a nice example of that, where the S&P 500, we had been on kind of that slow roller coaster ride up the hill, and then we took a little dive down, and that's very worrying to a lot of people. A lot of Americans have a lot of anxiety when they see their balances drop, when they see the talking heads on television panicking, they start to panic. So what's the role for technology? What's the role for the human touch? Where do those work together? Is there a role for human touch?
We're building technology, but we have to recognize we're building it for humans. And I'm a portfolio manager by training. You give me a calculator, a slider, a Monte Carlo simulation, I'm going to love it. But that's not most people. And so I think when we think about what types of interfaces we need to build, we really have to communicate in a way and talk to employees kind of the same way that we would talk to our loved ones. And when I talk to a cousin and I say they just started a new job, I'll tell them, listen, join your 401k, start off at 6%, put it in something called a target date fund. It's great. It'll automatically manage your money for you. What happens is, if I come back to that cousin a few weeks later, or the next time there's a family barbecue, and I ask, so what'd you do? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, oh, well, I haven't gotten around to it. So I think first, you got to speak to them like a human, and second, you have to give them a button so that they could implement it right then and there in the moment when they're motivated. So I think that's just one example of how we use empathy to design a technological interface. But then there are a lot of people who will have questions. Either they have more complicated situations, or they just need a little bit of hand-holding. And so we provide unlimited access to investment advisors on our staff via phone, email, or video chat. And sometimes it's as simple as just shooting off an email, hey, tell me about my credit card debt versus saving to the 401k. Or other times, somebody just really wants to get online, make sure that there's a person and see that person on the other end of the computer who's actually providing them the advice And hopefully, they hear in the voice of that advisor somebody who actually really cares about their specific situation.
But also, people feel like they can't save because they have so many other drains and priorities on their resources. I think the people on the first panel, I think the types of approaches that they are providing, the services they're providing, a holistic view to help educate consumers about all of their financial responsibilities and giving them a sense of how to balance them and evaluate them. I think those are very, very important steps. But we need to encourage more of them. And I think the work that's being done in this area, when Secretary Perez talks about these kinds of use of technology as a way to help improve people's ability to understand and save, that's the kind of thing that he's talking about, that we need. It doesn't replace the human touch, as I guess it was Brian's question was.
Human touch.
It doesn't replace that, but we need to have help people understand the broad set of financial obligations they have and try to figure out how to navigate that. I always say that, unfortunately, we don't have a GPS for financial adequacy. You can't get a little device and set your direction and then it takes you there. So we need to develop other tools, and I think that's what's so exciting to me about the marketplace and these tools that are being developed.